Welcome to another episode of Unscripted with Marilyn Morales. Today I have, and I always say this, a special guest, but I am very excited because I love to showcase my Latina leaders, right? So you guys are going to hear some Spanglish in here. Bear with us. If you have any questions or you need some clarification, absolutely put it in the chat. We will be back to answer any questions that you have. This next guest I met in person at a friend's event not that long ago, a couple months ago. I walked over to her table and I was taken by the fact that she spelled her name like my daughter's. My daughter's name is Gabrielle. Her nickname is Gaby with one B. And it is very rare that I find somebody who spells it the exact same way. I'm assuming her mom did that, just like me. So, and when I got to speak with her, we had so many things in common that I said, I have to have you on my show. So let me tell you about my next guest. Now, you know, her name is Gabriela Argoti-Fernandez. She is a first generation professional with over 12 years in the banking world. Originally from Ecuador, Gaby has excelled in the areas of portfolio management for commercial loans and banking services. Gaby was nominated to serve as a commissioner for the Maryland Governor's Commission on Hispanic Affairs, where she has held the seat since 2017. Didn't know that when I met her. This is what I met her about. Most recently, Gaby founded her dessert business, and that's what I was looking at. FlanCake by Gaby, which she runs during off hours at DC Green Bank. The business continues to serve the DMV area and offers a 5 to 10 week ESL program. This is her way of giving back to the community and enhancing the education of those that did not have the opportunity. Let us welcome Gaby to the show. Hello, hello, my
Hello,
love.
hello. Thank you so much for having me. What a wonderful introduction. That was amazing. And happy to be here. Wow.
Yes,
We, like you said, we
excited. I
met
was,
not too long ago, and I was like, we need to make this happen. So thank you again for giving me the platform and the space to do so.
of course, and you know what attracted me was dessert. It don't
As
take
with
much.
everyone. As with everyone. Yep.
I walked right over. I was like, wait a minute, flancocho. What is this? FlanCake, flancocho, right? I was like, you have some? Right? And then I saw your name and
Yep.
I was like, huh, I need to speak more to you, right? And as we were speaking, we found that we had things in common. My platform with Izzy's Legacy, as all my viewers know, has to do with the education of our people, the Latinos, about the need to join the NMDP. It used to be called bone marrow. It is now stem cell registry. And I want to make that distinction because of how scared people are when they hear bone marrow, right? So it is no
Mhm.
longer that difficult to be able to get on the registry. And when you are called to be able to donate your stem cells. But I can get into that later on. Go to izzyslegacyinc.org and you can find out more information. And for my Latinos, por favor, vayan a izzyslegacyinc.org. I'm going to be adding that in para más información sobre la donación de la médula ósea. You like that?
That was amazing. Hey, that Spanglish was perfect.
My
Yes.
Spanglish, just like I'm a New Yorican, right? From Brooklyn, New York. So
Love
I
it, love it,
try,
love
I
it.
try. Me la tiro ahí. Like I said to my family, me la tiro
Right.
ahí. Que caiga donde caiga. But
Exactly,
it's
exactly.
important. It is such an important mission, right? It's to and also to help people with cancer out there. So, si usted es una familia que está en una jornada de cáncer, por favor también visite. Nosotros ayudamos con ayuda financiera para las personas que están um, en una jornada de cáncer. As a family, I know myself that it was difficult financially to support my family um, during the time that I was with my daughter in the hospital. So, Gabby, share with my viewers why we connected on that level.
Sure. Yeah. Well, as you mentioned, my name is Gabby. A lot of my professional background, I think you already mentioned it. I'm a first generation professional here, originally from Ecuador. Um, So with that transition of being an immigrant, it was hard as is. I think, needless to say, that transition itself is very hard. And my parents did everything they could to make sure that I got my professional status right, that I grew up and that in a good environment. So but unfortunately, I was diagnosed with a brain tumor shortly after high school, after I was really starting my professional life, I would say. And that set me back in more ways than I can explain. It was very tough. It was a very tough time, not only for me physically, mentally, as a young adult, but also my family. Um,
Mm.
like I mentioned, I'm first generation. I'm the oldest of three sisters, so my parents were very clueless as to what to do and how to navigate this process. And I think that's where you and I kind of connected and understood kind of the difficulties and the trials and tribulations that come with a diagnosis like this. And for me, it was nothing that my family had before. I was the first in my family to have this diagnosis. So again, we didn't know what we were dealing with, how this was going to come out. All that my parents knew was we were on survival mode. Um,
Right.
and that part right there really just took us in this path and this way that we were tested spiritually, our faith, our love, all that really just wow, I can't even really describe it, but it was just a very, very tough time, and we really had to find ourselves. But
I
in
can
that
imagine. And
journey,
being in high school, sorry to interrupt, but being in high school, you're already dealing with wanting to
exactly.
fit in and all those other things, trying to really figure out who you are as a person, right? And now you're hit with this diagnosis. I have a question in regards to being you first generation. So you were born here in the United States?
I was born in
Yes.
Ecuador. I was
You were
born in
born in
Ecuador.
Ecuador.
I came to the States at the age of 9. So started elementary school here. So the transition from being an immigrant from originally from Ecuador to the States, learning the language, all those things, all those steps were really, really tough for me. I feel like that's kind of where my journey began as well. And
Yeah.
has also shaped me to be who I am today. Creo que esa parte de ser un inmigrante, de saber cómo se pasa uno de esa transición, de venir de un país que lo conocemos bien venir a un país, un mundo completamente desconocido, con unos padres que quieren la mejor vida por ti. Yo creo que cuando pasamos esa transición fue el comienzo de muchas cosas para mí, pero cosas que me han hecho la mujer que soy hoy.
Right.
It has really just resonated and stayed with me because I understand the difficulties. I feel like my story began there during my transition from Ecuador to the States because it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy, again, being in a world where you're completely new to new culture, new food, new language, just everything. We had to adjust. We had to adjust. But again, I can't say it enough. That has really shaped me, has built me to be the woman I am today, to show my kids now how to be a helping hand for others. So
Right.
I feel like that, yeah,
I think that role is key. Yo sé, para mí, yo soy nacida en Brooklyn, New York, right? Y mis
mhm,
padres solamente hablaban español. So cuando iba a la escuela o a un appointment médico, yo era la que traducía el
exacto,
lenguaje, qué es lo que
exacto,
está pasando. So
exacto,
yo me imagino,
exacto.
usted en el hospital teniendo que traducir para sus padres qué es lo que está pasando contigo, right? So,
Exacto. Esa parte de ahí, ese diagnóstico que me pasó a mí cuando fui diagnosticada con el tumor en el cerebro, fue algo que fue, como le digo, that is the toughest translation that I've ever made in my life. Esa traducción que tuve que yo darle a mi madre en ese momento en el hospital, y me van a disculpar si me pongo emocional, ¿ok? Um, that diagnosis, when I was told, when the doctor came in and said, you have a mass in your cerebellum, in your brain. Uh, and when he told me that, he said it's cancerous, could be cancerous. We have to, when he gave me the news, I looked at my mom, and the only word that she knew out of that sentence was cancer.
cancer.
Um, and we looked at each other, and it just we didn't really know how to really express ourselves, but her only thing was, can you translate what He said, what happened? What did he say? And that translation was the toughest translation I've ever had to do in my life. And that was the beginning of many, many, many other situations that I had to deal with physically. Following that, I had to have an emergency brain operation to remove the pressure from my brain. Because had I stayed a day or two longer, I wouldn't have made it.
Oh my
So that was
God.
the first surgery. Following that, there were three others and many other just procedures in general, to get me through and to treat me and to get me back into shape. But in between that, I also lost the ability to speak. I lost the ability to see when I had that first surgery. The motor skills and were damaged. I could That's the best way I can put it. So a lot of my rehab process was also very, very hard. It wasn't something that took me a month or two. It was years that, after that I had to really just hold on to my family's love, faith. Aside from the great neurology team that saved my life, um, all of that really got me through it, amidst all of the difficulties. I think my family were always by my side. That was really like my rock. And I say my mother too has just been the angel for me, my strength. Because even though we had to endure the news, endure the process, the surgeries, and just everything, she was always by my side. And I tell you, as a mother now, I don't know where she got that strength, how she
You
did
just
it,
do it. You just do
how,
it.
because, and I think you can really attest to
Yeah.
that. And just it was, oh my goodness, heartbreaking sometimes to just see her. I mean, I was the one on the hospital bed, right? I was the one with tubes all over my head and around my, but just to see her just breaking in front of me too was just so hard. Um,
Yeah.
because she's my mother, but she never gave up. She never gave up. And although I was one physically going through it, she, gave me the strength. And little does she know, um, that she's the reason also for my survival story. She is, I say, that the angel that I needed, because had I not had her by my bedside every night, and although she was working every day, I don't know, again, I don't know how this lady did it.
Yeah.
She was working
Yeah. And
every
you have
day, and then she was.
in a strength that's not human. Right?
Exactly, exactly. She was by my, bedside at that hospital every day. Every day. It's just something I admire, but again, it has shaped me to be who I am today, because now I give that love back to my kids, and I lead with those examples.
Right. So you're emulating exactly what you witnessed and
Mhm.
saw yourself. I remember being in CHOP with my daughter and looking around at all the other children who didn't have their parents there because they couldn't, right? Single parents who couldn't, right? And had multiple children. You're fortunate that you had both parents, and I'm sure helped, that you guys were a little bit older, maybe, because you were a teenager. I don't know how old your siblings were at the time. Um, but sometimes that's like difficult navigating. My daughter was only 7 months old when she was diagnosed. She was an infant. And my other two were 6 and 9 years old at the time. Right. So, and they were coming every single day. I didn't leave Isabella's side either. Right. But it was only because of, and this speaks to family units, right? Because I had the support of my mother. Right. So now we're going another generation above. And I give it to my mom the same way. I said she was the angel that I absolutely needed to help me through this period. I don't know what I would have done without her. I wouldn't have
Oh
made it.
yeah.
She
Oh
helped me
yeah.
every step of the way, helps her
Yep.
granddaughter every step of the way. And
I can.
interestingly,
Mhm.
there's a photograph of, and I don't know if you've ever seen this, but of a woman when she is pregnant with her daughter, she is also carrying her granddaughter at the same time.
Yes. Yes.
Right. And I always think
Mhm.
back to that. I was like, you formed us, you held us from before we were
Mhm.
even here.
Mhm.
And
No,
she
I can
carried
I
that
can
through
attest to that. Yeah, I actually, it's so amazing you say that, because I think it's part of my culture, part of our culture,
our
where
culture. Yeah.
we build this community. We come from a place where I know that if my mother's by my side, my grandmother was home with my dad juggling my younger sisters. So it was really just a village. I say
Yeah.
que nuestra cultura, nuestra forma de ser en nuestras familias, siempre tenemos eso, de ser una mano de ayuda. Yo fui muy afortunada de tener a mi madre, que siempre estuvo al lado mío, a mi padre, a mi abuela, que siempre cuidaba de mis hermanas mientras yo estaba pasando por esa recuperación, mis tíos que no estaban muy lejos tampoco, pero fue algo para mí que me enseñó tanto de la familia, de comunidad, de cómo debemos de ayudarnos de unos a otros. Y hoy lo llevo siempre en mi corazón bien cerca y lo doy también eso a mis hijos, ese concepto, ¿no? Ese concepto de crecer siempre en unidad, de crecer y ayudar al prójimo. I think that's very key to always just, help each other, serve in a capacity where you're helping your family, but also you're helping your community. I'm very big on community, and that's a huge part of me that throughout this process, even though I went through such a terrible battle that sometimes could easily bring you down. You could easily
Right.
just be brought down to your knees, and that's it. Um, I turned that into something. Everything that I've mentioned to you between being an immigrant, learning the language, being diagnosed, all that. I took it in and I turned it into something to give back to the community. And part of what I do, besides my professional career, is give English lessons to the community for free. And I think that's a component that is so needed for a Latino community to see someone of your color, someone of
That's right.
your anyone that can see me has seen that my battles have been real, that I've
Right.
I've dealt with a lot of the things that they perhaps have dealt with, but that anything's possible. And I relay that message of my story in every session of English classes or workshops that I host. And I think that resonates a lot with the community. And that's also part of the mission that I, take is besides my professional career, besides all the titles that I've been blessed to have, it's also how much impact am I making to the community that really needs it, to the parents that are struggling, that don't know how to access the medical care, that are just dealing with hardships with their children, with medical needs, that don't know how to access the needs that they need for their kids to
That's
get
right.
taken care of. So, with these English classes, not only am I focusing on improving their language, but also giving them the resources and tools that they need to move forward. And one thing that I really want to share, one of my English students, a very young girl, came here to this country and started kind of working at a fast food restaurant. And she said, I want to learn English because I need it for my job. And I said, well, what else are you going to do besides the fast food? It's great. I'm so, glad that you're doing that. But what else do you see yourself doing in 5 years here? And she said,
Hmm.
well, maybe just here at the fast food, maybe taking more hours, just longer shifts, more money. And I'm like, we need to, open up your mind to more because you have the potential and the ability to be bigger than that. So
That's right.
with the classes, had I not met her, I don't know where her life would be at now. But we managed to get her into a program here with the county for free, where she'll be getting her diploma and she'll be going off to college as well while working. But it is just a pivoting point that really has, opened up her mind and has really given her the segue to succeed. And that's, also my goal, just to position people for success, um,
That's right.
and
That's right.
showing
And
them
letting
that
them
anything's
know
possible.
that they
Yes.
are more than what they even believe themselves to be.
That's that's what it is. That's what it is. She didn't think she could. She thought because she's an immigrant, she doesn't know the language, that this is it, that she was going to be working at a
It's her
fast food
destiny.
for the rest of life. And like, no, that you have so much in you. You are young, you are intelligent, you have the potential. It's just a matter of getting you to the right resources, the right people, and connecting you to the county and all these different free programs that we have. And again, I've been fortunate enough to hold a seat with the Commission on Hispanic Affairs. I'm the vice chair for Hispanic Affairs, where I have the contacts and the resources to just give people that little push they need. So that's been
So
a
needed.
blessing in itself.
So needed because of that. Whenever people like they look at immigrants as if they're not intelligent, right? You try going somewhere where you don't speak, where English is not the primary language. I'd like to see what you can do there, right? Is my answer always. You try being bilingual and coming in later on when you're not a child, right? And navigating these same waters. So very very different. And yes, we want to make sure that they know that there's so many resources out there for them. For me, more is navigating and giving them the tools of when you're faced with medical situations, because as a nurse for over 38 years, it's what are the questions that you need to ask, right? You know, be bold enough. Our people have a tendency, a lot of people, not just
Mhm.
our people, but especially ours, to not ask questions, right? This is what the doctor said, and that's it. No, ask
Mhm.
questions. It's okay to ask questions. This is about
Yeah.
you, about your
Yep.
health, about your
Yep.
child, right? And let me guide you on some questions that you should ask, some basic things. That's a starting point. Give them those things. And I remember being a little girl and going to my aunt's appointments, my mom's appointments, and I'm a little girl, right? And going to all the doctor's appointments to translate for them.
Mhm.
And here I am still
Mhm.
doing it in my
Yeah.
50s.
Yep. That
I'm
is
like, so
real. That is real. I think that you touched a very key point, and I see that now with all the classes and workshops that we host, where they're just tienen pena de hablar, tienen pena de preguntar, y eso creo que viene de en muchos de nosotros, ¿no? Que tenemos esa pena y ese concepto que si preguntamos, no va a ser bien o nos vamos a sentir que somos inferiores, pero es lo contrario. Yo siempre digo que en todas mis clases debemos de dar a todos esa oportunidad de hablar, que está bien de hablar, porque tenemos que informarnos, tenemos que saber, tenemos que conocer y la única forma de hacerlo es preguntar y no tener pena. Pero sí, para mí ha sido una felicidad poder hacer estas clases, poder abrir la mente de muchos estudiantes, de muchas personas, que todos somos capaces. No importa de dónde vengamos, si somos inmigrantes de color, mujeres, jóvenes, todos tenemos la capacidad de llegar a mucho más, a mucho más. Y si necesitan un ejemplo, aquí estoy yo, porque yo pasé por cirugías que para mí supuestamente no iba a quedar bien, no iba a poder, no iba a exceder más de eso, pero aquí me tienen feliz, contenta con una familia hermosa y puedo también compartir la historia y dar esa mano a todos ustedes.
amén, amén y amén. Como se dice, right? Ahora, Gabby, where if somebody goes onto your website, what are they going to find there? And I have it
Okay,
scrolling, guys,
so
right here on the bottom. What
sure,
are they going to
sure.
find?
Yes. Okay. So my website, FlanCakeByGabby.com. Like I mentioned, a lot of the things that I do, I try to connect with the community in different capacities. One of the most recent things that has been part of my world is having this dessert business, FlanCake by Gabby, was created to share our culture, share delicious flan, with a bit of a twist where you have cake as well. So you're going to see on the website the different flavors, the different things we do, how we connect with different organizations, and just how we collab with different people in the DMV, in DC, Maryland, Virginia. And part of the website also is Flan Cake Foundation, which touches on the classes that we host, the English literacy program that we have, and just the different workshops that we like to have for the community to be involved in. So you'll find all that in the website and also our contact information. If there's any other questions that you guys have about it, both the desserts, the classes, anything, feel free to reach out through the contact
Please reach
there.
out. Yes, and I'm hopefully planning for a collaborative um in the future with Izzy's
Yes.
legacy
Yes.
and
That is
and Gabby.
definitely that is a must. I think
That
that
is
is
a
a
must. We
must.
will be. So stay tuned and keep an eye on both of us so that you can find out when that event will be taking place. So Gabby, once again, thank you so much for coming on to the show and sharing all about you and all about all the great services that you offer. My last question for you is, what is your definition of success?
Ooh, thank you for that question. Thank you for having me. I feel honored to be part of this and just sharing my story once again. What defines success, I believe, is how much impact we make in others. I briefly said that I have different titles. I work with bank. I have my business. I There's so many things that I'm involved in. I'm soon to be an author, by the way. My book will be coming out this summer, so please stay tuned for that as well, which I will share my story into detail and just everything
Can't
that I
wait.
went through. But success to me, besides all that, is really defined on how many people we help, how much impact we make to those in need. I think ultimately that is what when we do that, we teach our kids, we teach future generations how to lead in the community. And I think that's huge for me. That's huge. To define success with that, not with material, not with titles, not with anything, but just how much impact and how much heart you have for one another.
Impact, influence, and specifically for our youth, because when you change a child, you change the world. You
Yes,
change the
that
future.
is.
So thank you for
Yes.
that. For my viewers, I will see you next time.